As someone who works in a funding agency, I think it is important to involve policymakers, which include the national funding agencies, in using MERIL, since the information can be quite relevant when developing the methodology for updating the national roadmap. So, of course, it's essential to have an idea of the landscape of the country, and the portal like MERIL is, of course, truly helpful in that process.
With MERIL, you have get a platform with a collection of information about research infrastructures. And this has become increasingly important, as research infrastructure is becoming increasingly important for research. And a lot of questions are being asked by researchers, by policymakers, how to develop further the whole area of research infrastructures. What areas do we need new infrastructures? What are the capabilities of the existing ones? What kind of information can I gather about this in general? Statistics need to be gathered, need to be understood, need to be displayed and communicated. With a big database or about research infrastructure and the tools to study the statistics and understand what is going on in the research infrastructure landscape that MERIL have created, they've really built a platform for further work in this area. And this is important because research infrastructure has become, for over the recent years, more and more important for conducting research at large scale in large international collaborations. And more questions are asked by all different kinds of stakeholders, from policymakers to the research themselves, to understand how does the research infrastructure landscape look, what services are available, what can I, as an individual researcher, find resources for doing this or that kind of experiment, or what are the potential collaborators I can find. So, and here we can see a number of questions that need to be asked in the future, and what MERIL have achieved is just a starting point, I see, for further work in this area.
Actually, we used MERIL a lot in the beginning of our project, because when we started, we wanted to have a mapping of existing research infrastructures, not only in Europe, but especially in the Upper Rhine area, to know where we can start from. So we had a lot of help from MERIL project members to get data, and not only from the website, but really raw databases to find all the existing IRs which were set up in the MERIL database. That was a big help to get the mapping and the cartography of the existing IRs we have so far.
So typically MERIL has sort of two groups of potential users. One is the stakeholders, the funders, the government agencies, ministries, etc. And the second one are users of research infrastructure. And so the future development have to fulfill needs for both categories. And I think one of the challenges, but also opportunities that is going to emerge in future years is to connect the users as well as to provide information to the stakeholders regarding networks of research infrastructure. Increasingly, sort of small to medium-sized research infrastructure are getting connected through networks. That provide an added value because basically there are complementarities and synergies that can be built between research infrastructure. However, there is a challenge in that rather than connecting each individual research infrastructure, MERIL or similar platform have to also connect to the network itself. So it does add a number of information that has to be provided by MERIL, by the platform, but conversely, it also adds an added value to the users because it's going to provide a direct access to a network of research infrastructure to the users, rather than having to go to each individual infrastructure to see whether they can fulfill their need. So that's an added value to the user, but it's also a challenge for MERIL to make sure that there is a connection between the information they provide on individual research infrastructure as well as connecting to the network and to the potential that the network can provide to the users. So I think for me, that's a real interesting development for this type of landscape and sort of access portal like MERIL, but also a bit of a challenge in the way they collect and distribute information.